guys, I'm Rachel O'Leary and welcome to the fish room. Pardon the chaos, but Tuesdays are busy around here. I'm doing water changes, catching fish, and I'm also getting ready to go to the All Aquarium Catfish Convention, and I'll put a link for you guys about that. And one of the cool things about the Catfish Convention, and one of my favorite things, is that on Friday night they open up the entire third floor of the hotel for folks to sell out of their rooms. I'm one of those people, so I'm getting together all my stuff for traveling with fish. And I just wanted to talk to you guys a bit about what I think about, don't forget the tank is filling, what I think about when I am getting ready to travel. Now, I am a list maker. I like taking notes. I like crossing things off my list. If I've done something that isn't on my list, I'll add it to my list to cross it off. And that comes in especially in handy when traveling to events like these, where if you forget something like water conditioner, it can be deadly for your critters. So for the most part, I keep some bins packed up all year round for whenever I'm going to travel. This can be if I'm going to conventions, really anywhere in the US, I'll pack a couple of these totes, an air pump, some airline, etc. And then that way, if I impulse buy any fish, I'm prepared. And let me tell you, that happens more times than not. So some of the things that I think are really important to travel with are water conditioner. Now, I don't have to use that here because I'm on a well, but going to different areas, obviously most hotels aren't going to be on a well, so I need to make sure that I have good water conditioner. I use Prime. Really, whatever you like is fine as long as it detoxifies both chlorine and chloramine. Take a lot of fish bags. You want to be able to rebag. I take these totes, which I set up with sponge filters to house the various creatures that I'm either going to be purchasing or selling. I take Easter grass for if I'm selling shrimp or purchasing shrimp, so they have something to hold on to in the bag that doesn't make the water dirty. I take blue tape, painter's tape, so that I can label my tanks or my bags easily, as well as a Sharpie, some scissors, a siphon to be able to drain all my bins when it's time to pack up and head home, some power heads, a power strip. Hotels are getting better at this, but for a long time there were very few outlets available. So I always took a power strip so I would have enough. I take gang valves, which are these guys, so that I can run multiple air lines from one central pump, which is a lot easier in a hotel. I take air stones, and I also take stainless steel nuts. And I do that because sometimes I don't have enough sponge filters and I need to weigh my air stone down in the bottom of these bins, and you can just do a loop with your airline and this will hold it in the bottom safely so you get good bubble output. I take a central air pump, which is I take one big air pump, which is this one. This one can run maybe 10 bins. And then I also take a backup pump, and I also take some power heads, because if you have a pump failure, it can be a real disaster, especially if you don't know where you are. I take an infrared thermometer so I can test my tank temperatures or my bin temperatures easily and make sure things aren't getting way too cold. Now, I don't generally take heaters, especially with these plastic bins, but I'll crank up the heat in the actual hotel room to make things more comfortable. And then I take polyfilter. Now, you guys have heard me talk about polyfilter a bunch of times in videos. I think it's a really great product. It certainly never ever replaces doing water changes, but what I like about it when I'm using these little tiny containers is that it'll start to turn color, specifically yellow for ammonia, before the fish are really affected. So I use it more as a signifier. I'll drop about a postage stamp size in each bin. If I see any hint of yellow on it, then I know to do a water change immediately. And on that note, don't forget buckets. It is a pain in the butt to do water changes in a hotel room without a siphon and a bucket. Sometimes I'll actually bring a pitcher too, because these bins are pretty small, and that makes it a bit easier to do a partial water change. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple 6-foot tables, I'll set them up in the hotel room. Usually you can get a layout of the room you're going to have with the dimensions from the hotel, which makes it easier for planning purposes. You'd be shocked at some of the elaborate setups that people take to their hotel rooms, entire rack systems for glass tanks. I often travel alone, and I'm not carrying 10 glass tanks into a hotel room by myself. So I prefer these bins, especially for the little creatures that I deal with. Now, to actually get down to the show, I'll bag them up just like I would for shipping. And it's important to remember to take bags to have for when you're coming home. You know, if this was a situation of me moving, I may do things differently, but just to travel to a show, this is how I do it. Now, some folks will also take their own tap water with them. I don't usually bother unless it's something especially sensitive. I've been going to shows down in Herndon, Virginia, and that greater DC area for years, and I've never had issues with my fish there. I do like to get there early. I'll get there on Thursday. I'll fill all my bins, and I'll let them sit for most of the day after treating them with water conditioner, just in case they have an especially high level of chlorine. So I'm going to try and take some video for you guys while I'm at Catfish Convention this weekend. I'm not totally sure if I'll have time or not. I'm not getting to stay the whole weekend, unfortunately, but I'll be there Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday. Please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. Also, make sure you stop by my Facebook as well as my website, MsJinx.com, for all my upcoming speaking engagements, my current stock list, and information on all things nano. And I'll put a link to those in the description. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to tell me if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions.